recognize that as a gift. And I don't need for that to think of that as, the white bearded man in the sky handing me stuff. I like to think of that as I can acknowledge that everything that I do have, it's a gift, and I should be grateful for it. And when I'm grateful for it, that is the antidote for me always wanting more things. Now, as a person who grew up with not a whole lot of things, I have that. Not only do I have the scarcity bug, but I also want all the things. And I've had a lot of nice things. I've had all the fancy cars. I've indulged myself in all those things. I hope today that I'm a little better than I was before, where I don't need all those things to have to identify as to who I am. When I can recognize that I'm a child of God, that we are in this together, that I don't need things to make me somebody, then I can begin to be thankful for what I have. To be thankful for the life that I have, for the breath that I have, for the family that I have, the fact that I do have shelter, the fact that I do have food, the fact that I do have a car. I mean, we could go on and on and on and list things over and over again of all the amazing things that we have. And when I can see those things, when I can identify those things, when I can voice those, when I can write them down, that then gives me the ability to be generous with those things. I can tell you right now, one of the things that we have told our kids since they were itty-bitty is the reason we work hard and make money is not to take vacations, it's not to get a bigger house, it's not to save for retirement. Why do we make money, Kylie? So that we can give back. We have told our kids that since they were itty-bitty and little. But the reason why we work hard, the reason we do the things that we do is so that we can be generous. Now, I'm not against all those things. Do I have a retirement account? You betcha. Do we save money? You betcha. But the premise, my underlying why of why I work hard and why I do the things I do is so that we can have the ability to help one another, to be generous, because I am a product of that. I'm a product of other people's generosity. And not just individuals. I put a video out this week. I grew up on food stamps, on Section 8 housing, and on Medicaid. That was my health care, that was my food source, and that was my shelter source growing up, were those three things. Now, there were people that came into my life that helped me like we do with other people, but I'm here today, I exist because I had government programs. And I'm not trying to sell you on that, but we have a problem right now in our country. We have two warring sides in our political groups that can't seem to agree on a budget. And what happened this week is people who are, we don't call them food stamps anymore. What do we call it? I already lost it. SNAP program. When I was a kid, we had food stamps. We got this little booklet, and it looked like Monopoly money, and you had to tear it out. And I had all this guilt and shame every time I'd go to the store because then everybody knew you were poor, right? And so I'd go to the store, and I'd go get milk and cheese and bread at the store, and my mom would send me in because she didn't like to go in. And I had to bust up my food stamps, and I was always embarrassed. I'm always like, ooh, like it was so uncomfortable for me. Now we have little cards, so it's kind of, the school system's the same. When I was a kid growing up, if you were on free and reduced lunch, you had a special looking card. And so every day in that line, they'd give you your card, and I'd stand in line, and I'd have guilt and shame, and I'd put my head down and making sure nobody was paying attention to me. What's happened in our country is we can't agree on a budget. Most of you are aware of this, and so we're not able to issue those SNAP benefits starting as of yesterday. So starting this week, we have people in our communities that don't have enough. Now, yes, we are a collection point here for food, and I would encourage anybody to bring food in, and we're partnering with Community Services League and a couple different organizations that are distributing that food, right? And so if you have that, feel free to bring it. What's more important, and this is why church is so important, we will do that as a group, but the more important thing is we're the table. We don't just do stuff here. That's one of the things we do. The more important thing we do is this is a training ground so that when you go back out to your tablehoods, that you are doing it in your communities, that you're doing it, that your house is a collection point, that your house is a distribution point, that your office, any table that you find yourself at this week, whether it be at a restaurant or whether it be at the office, that you are out there doing that work, the thing in which Jesus invited us to do it for the least of these, to feed the hungry when they need to be fed. And yes, we're going to do that as a group. But I think sometimes we forget. We're like, oh, yeah, the church will do that. Or, oh, yeah, Community Services League will do that. That's not our job as Christians. Our job as Christians is to do that every single day of our lives. Our job as Christians is to be those kind of people that are constantly helping. In subsequent weeks, we'll talk about that. Because in the Christian world, there's this idea of tithing, right? That we give 10% of our income. And that's true. I'm not saying you have to do that. That is a principle. That's something we try to live. It's a standard we try to live to. But that's just one of the things. The tithing supported the church so the church could exist as a learning institution. That's what the tithing, it paid the priest, it paid for the buildings, it paid for that. There's all these other things, and we'll get into some of these details, but there's all these other ways that people lived out their faith. They would leave crops in their fields for people to come by and take as they needed. They would be generous with their first fruits, with their cattle, and they didn't have cattle, with their sheep and their goats, and with their grains and their fruits. To be generous, to live a grateful life means that we recognize everything that we have. And for some of us, it's more, and for some of us, it's less. Being grateful has nothing to do with the amount of things that we have. Jesus reminds us of this with the story at the woman of the well. Jesus is traveling to Jerusalem. He goes through Samaria. I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, but you know, the Samaritans were the bad people. So I don't know where you find yourselves on any political spectrum or who your opposite is, but whoever it is for you, that's who the Samaritans were for Jesus and the Jews. And in almost every story, Jesus makes those people, the bad people in their day and age, the heroes of his story. And so Jesus goes to this well, and it's Jacob's well, and that has significance in the Old Testament. And he goes there, and there's this Samaritan woman. He says, "Woman, I am tired," and he's beat up, and he sits down, and he's like, "I need some water." Now, it's a well. He didn't have anything to get water from the well. And she's like, "How dare you, or why are you talking to me? I'm a Samaritan. You're a Jew." That is against the law. And he says, "Please give me water." And she actually ends up getting him water. And he's like, "Actually, if you knew who I was, you would ask me for the kind of water that doesn't make you thirsty again." You see, when you drink this kind of water, right, the water that we all drink, when you drink that kind of water, what happens? You quench your thirst for a moment, but then what happens? You're thirsty again later. Same thing when we eat. When we eat, it fills our hunger, but then we're hungry again later. Jesus was given an analogy. This is what it's like to be human. When we buy something, when we get something, we're satisfied with it in the moment, but then a short time later, we want something else. That's how the reward system works. In order to get that same hit of dopamine or serotonin or oxytocin, we have to buy bigger and better things and escalate it up and up and up to get the same hit. Jesus is like, when your focus is only on tangible water or tangible things, you will always be a slave and a victim to those things. But what I can offer you is what he calls living water. And living water, you will never be thirsty again. Living water is the spiritual water of gratitude, of thankfulness. When we can be grateful for what we have instead of always looking for what we don't have, we can find the true joy in life. And honestly, it starts with you. It starts with how we see things, the way we think about things, the way we do things. I was at dinner this week with somebody, and we were having a conversation. We're sitting in a restaurant, and they were sharing some personal stuff with me. And often when I'm meeting with people, they're going through a difficult time in their lives, and there was a lot of crying. There were a lot of tears. And we found ourselves in this, having dinner for a couple hours, and we're getting near the end of the night, and it's getting late, and we're getting ready to leave. And this woman walks up to the table, and she brought this. Brian, put that other picture up. That's now it's the right time for that one. Can you tell what that is? That's a rose, and can you tell what it's made out of? A napkin. The person I was with found themselves crying several times during the conversation because what they were sharing was very deeply emotional, and there was some pain involved. And a person sitting across the restaurant, from across the room, saw this person, and it's this sweet old lady. And so she walks up to the table, and she laid it on the table, and I probably looked at her like she was crazy because I'm like, what is happening? But she's like, "Here, I thought you could use this," and hands it to my friend. It was the most interesting moment. That made me tear up. Somebody from across the room picked up on the fact that my friend was having a rough time. And what did she have at her disposal? Oh, a used napkin. I can take this napkin that I've been using to wipe I don't know if she used it or not, but it was there in front of her, and she took it and she turned it into something beautiful. And she used what she had, which was very little. She used what she had to bless somebody else in that moment. And of course, that made my friend cry even more. And in the moment, as I'm tearing up, I have to take a picture of this where I'm like, oh, I'm using this on Sunday. All around us, we have opportunities to bless other people. But it starts with us understanding that what we have is enough and what we have that we need to be grateful for. I want everybody to lean down underneath your seats. Under your seats, you will find, and if not yours, the one next to you, you will find a little gratitude journal. And for some of you, sorry, Steve. Steve's looking all around. I put it way in the back just to make you bend over as far as you could, Steve. If you don't have one, find one near you, or we have some more on the way back. Here's what I want you to do. I want us to be the kind of community that is constantly being grateful and thankful for the things that we have. And to see them is one thing. You know, when we write something down or when we voice it, it cements it. It makes it real. We've had this conversation before. When we have thoughts in our minds, right, we form those into words. And when we say them, we make it concrete. We speak it into existence. We see that God does this in the creation story. And I believe we can do this in our lives too. We can speak things into existence. And here's what I mean by that. We can speak that we are grateful for our family, even when our family isn't treating us well. We can be grateful for our jobs, even when our jobs suck. Because as we say that we are grateful for them, it'll literally change the pathways in our brains, and we will begin to see the things that we are struggling with differently. So I would tell you, maybe when you are journaling, and what I want you to do every single day this month, 3 things. It can be morning or night. I'm a morning person. I find that when I try to express gratitude in the morning, when I think about it, and when I write it down, it sets the tone for my day. So if you're a night person, great, fine. But what I find, the best way to do this is when you get up in the morning, the first thing I want you to do is drop to your knees and say, God, thank you for life. But also, I want you to write down 3 things every single day that you are grateful for. Now, when you start out, that's going to be easy. When you get to the end of this week, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm starting to repeat myself. And that's okay. Because sometimes it's hard. It's hard to find things that we are grateful for. Here in a few moments, we're going to share in our sacred act of what we call communion, right? It's where Jesus sat with his disciples and they shared a meal together. And so to represent that, we have some bread and we have some juice. Also, after church, the first Sunday of every month, we go out and we share lunch together. Today, we're going to Smokehouse Barbecue in Independence. So I would invite you to join us after church. But before we do that, I want everybody to stand real quick. Everybody stand. Now, behind me, you'll see a prayer. And I want to say this prayer together. And here's what I want you to do. You don't have to, but I'm going to invite you to. My default is to do this, right? I'm scared. I have scarcity. I'm afraid there's not going to be enough, so I hold things close. I tighten my grip. And I do it with everything. I don't just do it with money and things. I do it with the ones I love. When I feel like they're getting away from me, my default is I just want to go over and hug and smother sometimes, which works really well in my marriage. Yeah. But instead, I want us to think of this differently. And so as we say this gratitude prayer, could you just maybe open up your arms and open up your hands a little bit? Or pull a Shelley, right? This is how Shelley prays this. She likes to put her hands up. Could you just, and all this is a physical representation of we're going to open ourselves up to new things. And honestly, this is us letting go of our things as well. And will you say this prayer with me? Dear God, create in me a grateful heart. Open my eyes to see the good around me. When I am jealous, when I feel envy, create in me a grateful heart. When I focus on what I don't have rather than what I do have. When I take for granted many of your blessings, create in me a grateful heart. For my family and friends, I give you thanks. For each new day and new possibilities, I give you thanks. For creating the unique person that I am, I give you thanks. For your amazing grace, for your amazing love, I give you thanks. Open my eyes to see the good around me. Create a grateful heart. Amen. Please stay standing, and then I'll invite the band. No, I won't. You guys can participate in communion first. Sorry. I'm so grateful for Shelly right now. I'm going to invite Stacy to join me. Here at the table, once a month, we have this sacred act of what we call communion. And what it is, it's a reenactment of what Jesus did with his disciples on the night before he would be taken and crucified and murdered. And so Jesus sat down with his disciples, and you know, they shared a meal together. And so here's our little Jesus. Don't forget him. Thank you, Jeremy. And so Jesus took a loaf of sourdough bread. It wasn't sourdough. It was probably unleavened bread, for being honest. But he took a piece of bread and he held it up and he blessed it. And he broke it. Right? And he gave it to his disciples. He said, take, eat this. And as you do this, remember me. Now, they thought Jesus was crazy. They didn't know what that meant. What he was saying is, remember the things that I have taught you. And what I would invite you to do is, we use this as a practice because it's a tradition in Christianity, but every time you sit down for a meal, I think Jesus was inviting us every time we eat to be thankful for that meal and to remember that everything we have is in abundance. Take, eat this, remember that. And then likewise, he took a glass of wine and he held it up and he blessed it and he passed it around and he said, take, drink this. Remember the things that I have taught you. Here at the table, we're what we call open communionists. We see this as symbolism. You don't have to be a member of this church. You don't have to be a Methodist to participate. I'm going to invite you to come down the middle, and you're going to come down, and I'm going to give you a big old chunk of bread, because you're going to take that chunk of bread, and you're not going to dip your fingers into the juice. You're just going to dip the bread, okay? And you're going to take that, and I'm going to say, this is the body of Christ broken for you. My wife's going to say, this is the blood of Christ shed for you. And as you return to your seats, I want you to think of ways in which you can be grateful. I want you to think of the 3 things that you are grateful for today. As you do that, as you think on those things, let's go to God in prayer. God, thank you so much for the opportunity to give back, to be thankful, to be grateful. God, we are thankful to you today for life. We're thankful for this place. We're thankful for the people in our lives. And God, right now we are thankful for this little piece of bread and this juice. God, I would ask that you would bless it. God, as we eat it, as we partake of it, as it enters into our bodies, may we be reminded that all these things came from stuff that you gave us, from wheat that was grown in fields that was crushed and turned into bread, from grapes that were grown on a vine that was turned into juice. God, all those things come from you. They come from nature. God, as we partake of those, may we be reminded that we are tied to all of those things. We are connected to all those things as well as to each other. So God, as we partake of these things, may we be grateful for everything in our life. It's in your name that we pray. Amen. Please come to the table.
It's a beautiful day at the table, a beautiful day to be able to look all around and see who is found. It's a wonderful time to be caring, a wonderful time to be sharing with service and grace. We make this a place, a great community table, where kindness is always stable. It's a beautiful day at the table, a beautiful day to be able to look all around and see who is found. It's a wonderful time to...
Thank you, Michael. I really am grateful for you. I know that you said that a little condescendingly, but I mean it. I mean it more than you mean it. You guys, it has been a wonderful morning, and I want to share with you just a quick little story. I know it's a little past 11. I'll try to get you out of here. But, what? Woohoo! Go Chiefs! I had a remarkable week. I was driving in the middle of nowhere, Missouri, and if you're friends with me on Facebook, you've seen this story. But I was passing this gas station, and there was a man kind of off out in the corner on in the field, and he was just strumming away at his guitar. And I kept driving past, and there was this voice: "Turn around, turn around, turn around." And so I get maybe 2 minutes down the road, and I'm like, "Okay, I hear you. I'm turning around." And I actually was telling Stacy about this the other day, and she was like, "Oh, that's God. You listen to that voice. That voice is the one that you listen to." And I was like, "Well, I'm really glad that I did." I turn around, and I roll down my windows, and I can't quite get enough of this sound. And so I just get out of my truck, and I walk into this field, and I meet this man. And he looks up at me, and he says, "Ma'am." I said, "Hi, I'm just here to listen to you play." He's just strumming away at his guitar. And he says, "My name is Joe Wayne Wilson, ma'am," or Joe Wayne Williams. And it was like, he said it so proud. And he had this guitar that was held with duct tape. And Joe was unhoused. I heard a little bit of his story. And Joe is going to miss out on his SNAP benefits. He does not know where his next meal comes from in November. And he was praising the Lord. He said, "Well, I can come out here and I can sing and I can try to make some tips." And Joe played me a couple of songs that he wrote 25, 30 years ago. And I just was so moved. After I listened to him, I went in to the gas station, went to the ATM, and I gave Joe a tip. And he was so thankful for the generosity. But I was able to bless Joe with a tip, but I feel like Joe blessed me by far more than what that tip was worth, I promise you. So it's just a reminder, and it speaks to what you were saying earlier, Mike, about it's not about the money, it's about those small things. And Joe had his voice, and Joe had his guitar. Joe is a blind man, and he is praising God to the fullest and still being so thankful with the very little that we would think that he has, right? So there is a GoFundMe up right now on my Facebook to give Joe a really good tip, because Joe said that God always shows up. And I just thought that would be so cool next week when I drive by and see Mr. Joe Wayne Williams playing his guitar, if I could be like, "Hey, Joe, I showed people your clip, I shared your story, and we have this tip for you." So if you're able to, give Joe a tip, because he is out there praising God with his full heart. And now that's what we're gonna do. This little song I randomly heard through the week, and to me it was very much a love song to God. That's the way that I heard this. So it might not be one that you know. I'm gonna play the chorus for you here real quick. Pookie, are you able to put the chorus up for everybody? Thank you, Brian. So I'll play this so you're not hearing it for the first time, because it's a little intimidating being up here by yourself. So if I can hear you guys sing it out with me, it makes me feel good. It helps me get through it because I get a little nervous. So it goes like this. You got that chorus up there? Okay, thank you. Praises, oh Lord, you deserve. Oh Lord, you deserve all my praises. Oh Lord, you deserve. Only you deserve all my praise. That's the chorus. So let me see if I can hear you a little bit. Praises, oh Lord, you deserve. Oh Lord, you deserve all my praises. Oh Lord, you deserve. Only you deserve all my praise. Got it? We good? We got it? Got it. Yeah, okay, I want to hear you. All right. We'll go back to the beginning there. Thank you, Brian. You're amazing. I appreciate you. You woke me up this morning. Yeah, my cup is overflowing. You have blessed me and I know it, so I owe you my praise. You're the author of my story, and I thought that it was over, but your mercy kept me going, so I owe you my praise. Here it is. Praises, oh Lord, you deserve. Oh Lord, you deserve all my praises. Oh Lord, you deserve, only you deserve all my praise. You guys are pretty good. You're welcome. And I know I'm far from finished, but your grace is still sufficient, and that's what makes the difference. So I owe you my praise. Now I'm standing here forgiven, knowing life is worth the living. You're the God of new beginnings, so I owe you my praise. Praises, oh Lord, you deserve, oh Lord, you deserve all my praises. Only you deserve all my praise. When I think of all you've done, when I think of all you've brought me through, when I think about your love, I could never say enough thank yous. When I think of all you've done, when I think of all you've brought me through, there can never be enough. When I think about your love, I could never say enough thank yous. When I think of all you've done, when I think of all you've brought me through, when I think about your love, I could never say enough thank yous. Praises, oh Lord, you deserve, oh Lord, you deserve all my praises. Oh Lord, you deserve, only you deserve all my praises. Oh Lord, you deserve, only you deserve all my praises. Only you deserve, only you deserve all my praise. Thank you.
Immediately following church, we're going to do something. The school district reached out to us this week, and a lot of you know we have 4 schools that we deliver backstacks to every single week. And there's another school that we've now added. We've added them back and forth over the last few years. So now we have a 5th school that we delivered to this week. So we have extra stuff today that we need to pack for those schools. We pack every other week, so next week we'll pack. But right after church, it's just a few. It's only like 30 packs that we need to pack for that. So I want to invite you to stay for that. After that, we're all going to Smokehouse for our monthly lunch table, and I would invite you to join us there. So go, have a great week. Go in gratefulness and gratitude and generosity.